I'm 30 years old and I still don't know who I want to become when I grow
There
up.
are certain traits that a successful person or a successful parent does with their child.
You're
That-
a child, what you can understand.
But yeah,
And,
this is her self-talk.
Years,
This is
if
what
I'm
she-
gonna make a mistake, I'm gonna die.
That child, like you said, they learn that what they want is not that important.
Okay,
And so
what I've been talking about? Hi, I'm Tana, and that is the Tana Luna ADHD podcast, a space where we honestly talk about patterns that we carry from our childhood. Today, we will talk about how a parent's focus impacts the inner voice of a child and their direction in life. And today, my guest is Drake Pearson, Master of Ceremonies at Self Perfected and the founder of Unlock ED.
Yes, Unlock ED.
So, hi, Drake.
Hi.
Thank you for coming here today.
Thank you for having me.
For a long time, the impact of parenting on our nervous system and on our behavior was underestimated. And I know that you work directly with families and children and helping them to build healthier dynamics. And can you tell please a little bit about your work, what you do, and what brought you into this?
Yeah, so I'll start here. I help parents who want to prepare their children for the future.
Okay.
Right? Especially today, if you look out on the world, there is a lot of uncertainty that parents have.
Yeah.
The biggest concerns, there's, what's the job market going to look like in 10, 15 years, even maybe next year, with AI.
Even tomorrow, yeah.
Yeah, all the technologies going on. But also, so parents are concerned about that. And they want to give their children the preparation. They want to give them the best, but they're not sure how to go about that.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest concern that I hear from parents is they'll say something like, well, I don't want to force them to do something that may not have an effect later on.
Mm-hmm.
They're afraid that, if I focus on this or I focus on that, then what happens to the kid if that's not even useful? And on top of that, what if I ruin their childhood?
Yeah.
Right? And so they're very concerned about the future, how to best prepare their child for the future, but also at the same time, they don't want to ruin their child's childhood. And especially, they don't want to be the parent that the child resents.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so what a lot of parents end up telling me is they say, well, there are all these things that I said we would never do. We'd never stay up watching, too much television. I'd never give them an iPad. I'd never let them just do whatever they want on YouTube or go on to Roblox or things like that. And they say they end up doing it.
Yeah.
Because they're so concerned about what they can actually manage. They realize for themselves, the only thing that I really have control over is letting my child have fun now. And so they let them do whatever the child thinks is fun in this moment. And so they're not actually preparing them because they get paralyzed with that angle of things. And they just kind of let their child, it's okay, it's whatever. And I hear this from parents all the time. And what I do is I help parents who are really concerned about, okay, well, if I actually want to prepare my child, I don't just want to, I also don't want to ruin their childhood, but I do actually want to prepare them. What do I do? And that's how I support them. And a lot of it comes down to what you were saying. Parents don't even realize how they're affecting their child's nervous system from the very beginning.
Yeah,
right?
that is true, yeah.
And so if you can give your child a stable upbringing, and not just that, but also prepare them to be able to interact with the world effectively in a manner where they're able to adapt, they're able to take on new things, they're confident, they're resilient. You're giving them way more than what most kids are getting today.
So we're basically talking about creating emotionally safe childhood. So we will raise emotionally stable adults who will be having healthy coping mechanisms
Yes.
and actually able to tap into their own true identity.
Right.
Because, a lot of times when parents are forcing you into something, and you are so busy because after school you're going somewhere else, somewhere else, somewhere else. And even if you're telling your parents that I don't want this, I don't like this, but it may be your parent dream. Like
Yeah.
some parents want to do the music, but they never get to this, and they're like, now you're gonna go to the music
Right.
school.
Right.
And child
Exactly.
is saying, I wanna be artist. I don't want to sing. I want to draw.
Right.
But they've been forced into the music, and they actually have no free time of being themselves on their
Yes.
own. Because I think that childhood is about having a lot of time of exploring yourself through the
Hmm.
game. And when you don't have time to explore your life, your personality through the game, you ending up growing up the person. Actually, a few years ago, I heard a very funny joke. It was funny until I realized that it resonates with me, actually.
Oh.
So it was, I'm 30 years old and I still don't know who I want to become when I grow up. I was like,
Oh.
oh my God, that is so me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people who's watching us, they resonate with this because they might ask themselves, what they want and they don't know what they want, what they like, they don't know what they like, what they want to achieve in their life, they don't know, because all their life they've been told what to do,
Hmm.
and they never been allowed to have their own opinion. And yeah, when we talk about parental focus, like parents, a lot of parents, they try to make their child to be successful and achieve a lot of things in their life, but actually they put a child into the strict frames, and
Yes.
whatever a child trying to say like their own opinion, and some parents take it as a disrespect or a disobedience.
Yeah.
And what do you think about this?
Well, man, have you ever heard of the marshmallow experiment, the
No.
marshmallow test? Oh, okay.
Oh,
You're gonna like
all
this.
right.
So there was a psychologist, a professor in Columbia University, and he did this experiment where he asked parents to bring their children, 4 and 5 years old, and what he would do is he would sit the child in a room and he would ask them a bunch of questions. So that's what the child thinks they're doing there. They're asking them questions about their family, about what they want to be when they grow up, a whole bunch of questions. And then he says at one moment, excuse me, I have to go to another room. I'll be back. While I'm gone, I'm going to leave you a marshmallow. You can eat the marshmallow, but if you wait till I get back, I will give you a second marshmallow.
Okay.
Okay? And then he goes into another room where he can see
Hmm.
into this room
Okay.
and we can watch this child, right? And they watch that child struggle for 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. Like, oh, I just kind of can't eat it, so I can get another marshmallow. They want the other marshmallow. And they watched and they said, okay, some of the kids ate the marshmallow. Some of the kids, they waited till they came back. And they followed those kids when they got older. And they would check in with them over decades. And they saw the kids that were able to wait for him to come back, those kids ended up in better relationships. They stayed away from alcohol and drugs. They got better jobs. They made more money. They were overall, their lives, if you compared it to the other kids, their lives, they were more successful. And the big takeaway that most people get from that is self control and self regulation, emotional regulation. If we teach self control and emotional
Hmm.
regulation, then that sets the child up to be more successful later on in life. But hear this. That sounds good, right?
Yeah, it is.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay. But hear this. When they tried to teach this in schools, it didn't work. They tried to take students who already did not have that emotional regulation or self control, and they tried to teach them this. And they were able to teach them, but it didn't make them any more successful. It was just the same as if they hadn't taught them at all. And so they were curious, why is that the case? Right? So they had another theory. There's so many theories
Okay. All
that they
right. I
had.
love
They
it.
had another one.
Tell them all.
The other one was, oh, there is something called a growth mindset, and there's something called a fixed mindset.
Hmm.
Those with a growth mindset, what they do is if they fail at something, they say, I didn't get it this time, but I'm going to try again. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. Those with a fixed mindset said, oh, I failed at this. This must not be for me. I don't want to keep failing. I'm going to do something else, right? And so the growth mindset, what they said, the big takeaway from that is resilience. That child has resilience. And when you're resilient, then you're more likely to be successful. There's a big correlation with resilience and success. And so they started teaching kids to be more resilient.
Okay, how was the success?
No,
No,
it
no.
didn't work out.
Okay.
You're asking the right
Yeah.
questions. So then they did, there's another experiment out there, another study, where they looked at those who, when they practice deliberately. So what that means is, let's say you're playing basketball and you want to get good at basketball. So what you say is, I'm going to practice just dribbling the ball.
Mhm.
So everybody else at practice, you practice with everybody else, but then you take your own time and you say, I need to get good at this particular skill, so that later on in the games, I don't have to worry about, am I going to lose the ball?
Yeah.
Right? And then I can work on another skill and another skill. And then you assess, you self-assess. How did I do? Oh, I tried to do this and it didn't really work out. Let me try again. And they said, oh, those who can self-reflect. Oh, that's a big one. If you can self-reflect, those people are successful. So let's teach that. What do you think happened?
Not that much.
No, exactly. But it is true that successful people are resilient. Successful people have emotional regulation. It is true. Successful people also have the ability to self-assess. But when we zoom out and we look at the macro level, what is happening here? What are the big pieces that we can pick out that makes somebody successful? Yes, these things, maybe you could say somebody wakes up at 4 a.m. and they're successful because they wake up at 4 a.m. But then you decide, okay, I'm going to start waking up at 4 a.m. That doesn't make you successful though.
No.
Right? Because the person is waking up at 4 a.m. because they have things they want to do. They already.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's on the surface, it looks like all these things is what's creating a successful person. But it's not telling you what their mindset is underneath. What's actually happening when you zoom out and you see what makes somebody successful, it's if their parents are successful.
Yeah.
If their parents are successful, they're more likely to be successful. Now that seems like a rigged game, but there are certain traits that a successful person or a successful parent does with their child that parent who's maybe not as successful, comparing, mostly what we're looking at is economics, money, right? Comparing that, when we're looking at mega wealthy, families or whatever, what is the common denominator is, number one, they have a higher vocabulary. Higher vocabulary meaning they say more words to their kids and they speak with bigger words. They're able to describe things in many different ways, right? Whereas in the average household, they're speaking to their kids in very limited ways. This is the way that we describe that,
I actually witnessed one situation, and I was about 10 years old, but it actually happened to my nephew, and he was about 6 years old. But I witnessed his conversation with my uncle, so his grandfather, and that left an lasting impression throughout all these years because I've been thinking about this for all my life because that was something I never got. What I saw it was that my uncle actually really been talking to a 6 years old child like an adult. He's been explaining to him. He was asking him questions. Okay, kid, what do you imagine? There's the situation. What would you do? And the kid answering, and he's like, okay, now we change the situation. What are your actions? And he's actually teaching him as examples how you should think, how you should act, how you should pause before you act. And I was looking at this, I thought I never got anything like this in my home, because anytime I tried to talk, I was just brushed off.
Oh,
Like, you're a child, what you can understand.
yeah.
And a lot of parents, I think, might be like older generation, but maybe some young too. I don't know. I didn't run no scan on the ratio these days, but they may think that kids actually don't understand much. That is just a child. What they can understand, what they can feel. They're gonna
Right.
do what we're gonna tell them, and they better listen to this. And
Right.
that's it. And you can also hear them telling, "You will grow up. You can backchat. You can talk whatever you want. You can do whatever you want." And they do not realize that you actually teaching your child to become that adult person.
Yes.
So these days, we see a lot of 30, 40, 50 years old people who never got this education, and deep, let's say, like, they developmental um, progress in certain areas of a brain, it's stuck at the level of maybe teenager.
Mm,
You can be a grown person, you can find a job,
yes.
you can I don't know, have all the other attributes of an adult person, but deep inside you feel yourself like a child, and
Yeah.
you cannot even explain why, because nobody gave you a roadmap how to become an adult, how to manage adult things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on and the other thing that you mentioned about regulating, a lot of parents, they require from children being attuned to a parental moods, to parental energy, to the
Hmm.
parental well-being. So they basically train the children to never focus inside themselves, but to always keep the focus outside of them,
Yeah.
always manage everybody else well-being by their own.
Yeah.
And so basically, those parents are teaching a child to be that regulational tool. And actually, here we can see the roles they flip over, because actually, there is the parent who is supposed to be attuned to the
Right.
child
Right.
emotions and tell
Right.
them, okay, you said that is how you deal with the sadness. Okay,
Yeah.
now you're angry. That is how you express anger in a healthy way. You don't throw things, you don't
Right.
break them.
Right.
Just just there are other ways how to deal with this.
Yeah.
And
That's
yeah.
actually the second most important,
Mhm.
the second common denominator, right? Because we said you have the higher vocabulary, but then also the way that the parent interacts with the child.
Mhm.
In the successful families, they're friendly with their children.
Yeah.
They over explain things. They say, hey, don't put your hand too close to the stove. I know it feels warm from over here, but if you touch it, it will burn. And then if it burns, this is what will happen. You won't be able to play with your toys. It'll take a while to heal, blah, 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 blah. They explain in a
Exactly.
friendly attitude. Versus in the other homes, what do?
Brush off the child and say, just because I say it. That's it.
Exactly.
And did
Exactly.
you ever notice
Yes.
how many questions children asking? They're like,
Yes.
why is that? Why is that? Why
Right.
is that? Because they have this natural curiosity.
Yeah.
And it's great when a parent attuned to this curiosity. Okay, it
Yes.
may be a little bit exhausting because it's like a lot of energy,
It
always
is.
talking, but that is the part of being a parent.
Do you know what makes that so hard, actually, so difficult?
Mm.
Is because the way that most parents, it's not their fault, but the way that most parents were parented themselves,
Yeah.
they were taught that's rude for you to ask so many questions. You're supposed to listen to me. And then what they feel, like you said, they download the parent's emotional regulation.
Mhm.
So even that parent now feels you're being disrespectful to me by not just listening to me. And they didn't learn how to explain, it wasn't modeled for them, you
Absolutely.
know? And then that creates the third condition, which is in the successful homes, they are speaking to their kids, not just they're friendly, they're also able to speak with more words and describe things in different ways, but also they have a more stable environment because they're teaching their kids trust.
Yeah.
So usually those people have more money and they say, we're going to go on a weekend trip to, I don't know, Hawaii or something, right? And they can actually go on that trip to Hawaii. because they're not expecting anything to disrupt that. They make a promise, they're able to keep that promise, versus a very volatile home where the parent can say, you know, we're going to go to Chuck E. Cheese, or we're going to go to Disney maybe because you got good grades or because it's your birthday or whatever. But then what happens? Oh, my check isn't as big as I thought it was going to be, or this bill came out unexpectedly. I'm sorry, we're going to have to postpone Disney. So what does that child learn? They learn, oh, I cannot trust the environment. Maybe this parent is very well meaning. The adults around me, they're very well meaning, but it doesn't always happen that way. And so now, if you take that information and you go back to what we were talking about before, the marshmallow experiment, well, it's not just that this child cannot emotionally regulate. That's not actually the problem. It's what has this child learned about trusting their environment. They're making an objective decision in that moment of, this adult is telling me I'm going to get another marshmallow. Well, in my life, my experience has been, yeah,
Don't trust adults.
exactly. Adults say nice things, but they're not actually able to make that happen.
Yeah, and they're going to take this one little marshmallow because it's guaranteed, because it's right here, right now, right in front of me.
Exactly.
And the other one is not guaranteed at all.
Right.
It's like an instant gratification.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that is how we get people who, as you say, they're not able to regulate the present moment.
Yes.
And then they indulge into the drugs, addictions,
Right.
anything that gets that quick dopamine.
Yes.
And you're like, okay, now I feel good. So they cannot stand even 5 minutes of that inner discomfort.
Yes.
Because they don't know what to do with this.
Because the emotional regulation that they got from their environment as a child.
Yeah.
Right? And so what's interesting is we're talking in terms of success versus, average, right? But what it really boils down to is, okay, can we teach those principles to a child in school? You can, but by the time the child is going to school, they're already 5 years old, right? 6 years old. It's already kind of late to teach those principles. What really needs to happen is that has to happen at home. And so a parent can make that switch for themselves, but that requires a lot of self-reflection.
Yeah, self-awareness about every tiny action, every word, how you feel, how do you regulate yourself as a parent.
Right.
Yeah, and actually another thing, that this trust, it can be restored even if nobody in the home able to do this for you. But if you have any other safe adult in your surrounding, it can be a teacher who is emotionally safe. And you probably know that some kids, they lean towards certain teachers because they feel emotionally safe around them. And they don't like other teachers because they're like, I don't trust this one.
Right.
So, and one more thing, that actually the question, what was the approach of teaching those kids in a school? They could probably get the class and just really tell them, oh, you should trust the world.
Right.
Here's the trick. A lot of things that we learn home, even, it never on a verbal level, it's on a body level. And even if your parent never say anything negative that you can actually really say that these words, that phrase, that sounds negative to me. No, like you will not catch them saying anything negative to you. But the certain situations, they make you feel unsafe in your own body. For example, when some parents, they focused on achievements, they truly wish for the child the best, they want the child to be successful, and they say, okay, in order to be successful in life, you need to graduate a good school, you need to go to the good college, you need to get a good job, you need and the best jobs. It doesn't matter what you want, but the best areas for now, it's going to be this and this and this. Go to be the working in financial sphere, or be the doctor, or somebody else. And so they actually over focusing on just one area of life, and they absolutely miss out of their focus the emotional state of the child. And they never talk about this. And the child cannot say the words like what exactly a parent told me that made me feel this way. But when a parent's only achieving on, for example, just achievements and never an emotional state, what a nervous system of the child learns that my feelings don't matter.
Yes, yes, exactly. A child, your brain, and a child's brain especially,
Hmm.
is actually a transmitter and receiver
Yeah.
of information,
Hmm.
right? And so it's really interesting because, like you said, they pick up on the nonverbal things that you're doing and saying as well, right? But also, what happens is that child who they're learning, okay, you said this, but you're not caring how I feel about that, or you're not expressing this in a way to understand me and to help me to understand why this makes sense and why is the world the way that it is. There's certain things that you just have to, nope, that's the way that it is, and
Yeah.
you just have to accept it, and you have to go like that. And then that child, like you said, they learn that what they want is not that important, and so they just learn to go along with things. And this is where I have an issue,
Mhm.
because then that creates a world or a system of people who just go along with things that they don't really agree with,
Mhm.
but that's what they were taught. So then we complain about, look at the world the way that it is, right?
Yeah, it's all messed up. And
Yes.
why? Yeah, and the other part that we can notice these days too, that a lot of people at their 30s, 40s, 50s, as they call it, they have a mid-age crisis. When people quit their job, they live in their families, they quit everything they have that they built on for years, because one day they realize it's not what I want. I've
Mhm.
been just conditioned by the society, by my family, by
Yes.
everybody, that that is the life that I'm supposed to have.
Yes.
And yeah, so they living and spending time somewhere alone, and people think they actually really crazy for doing that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not normalized in a society to take a time for yourself and to reflect on your own well-being, how you
Right.
feel and what exactly you feel.
Right.
Because the other thing that we can notice, that people don't even, okay, there is not even a language to describe certain emotions. Parents don't teach their children about their emotions. Okay, now you feel this, now you feel sadness, now you're frustrated, now you're upset, now you're
Right.
overwhelmed.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
most of the times children, they just feel overwhelmed and they're
Yeah.
like, oh my god, I just really, they, and here we can see the hyperactivity,
Yes.
and nobody knows how to manage it. But that is just excessive energy. Child doesn't know how to apply or where to apply,
Right.
because he just really need that instant relief,
Yes.
and he
Yeah.
doesn't know anything else. Nobody teaching kids to sit down, take a deep breath, count till 4, exhale on 6, and
Yeah.
you will feel much better and calmer and more regulated. No, people yell at kids, people
Right.
punishing kids.
Right.
So, and actually we see that generations of the people who've been punished for being themselves.
Right. And they're kids. They want to get the energy out.
Yeah.
They often want to be outside, playing with something with their hands or something
Hmm.
like that. And they're being told, no, you have to sit here. You have to just be quiet. Just look at this thing. Don't make
Yeah,
any.
just sit, don't move, don't
Right.
make a mess.
As if they're like a
Don't
robot
be
or
a problem. Yeah.
right. Right. And that's not how we operate as human beings. That doesn't even make sense. And so, like you said, then they're not taught to emotionally regulate. They're also, because when those children who they grow up in like a volatile environment where the promises aren't always kept, those sorts of things, it's also very hard for those children to self-reflect.
Hmm.
So they cannot look back on their past because it's painful, or they were told something, like how we were talking about before, when you're told, hey, don't do that or you're going to get a spanking, or you're going to be in timeout, or
Hmm.
because I said so. That's using force and pain to teach a child, not explaining the consequences. I remember I had a parent that I work with. She's explaining to her 2-year-old, here's why we don't want to eat a lot of candy before we go to bed, right?
Hmm.
And she had recorded this conversation that she had with her 2-year-old. It was very cool. And she posted it on her social media. And then somebody else, one of like her family members or something like that, is in the comments, I would never explain this to a 2-year-old, right? And I said, well, that's why they have the results that they have.
The result.
Exactly.
I have the results.
That's not something I would brag about, you know?
Yeah.
You want to explain to your 2-year-old. Maybe they don't pick up on everything, but you're starting the habit early of, hey, let me explain this to you. Let me help you to understand. And they will come to expect that from you. I do this with my own children, right? I have my own 2-year-old.
Yeah.
I do the same thing where I explain things and I am surprised by the things that my 2-year-old says back to me. With the level of detail, with the ability to construct her own sentences that I've never said to her, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. This is really cool. Because then that's going to continue to generate into a bigger conversation where I can explain even more and she can pick up more and she can explain to me. The other day she said to me, she said, I was picking her up and she was uncomfortable. And I said, what's wrong? You don't want me to pick you up? She said, your hands are cold.
Oh.
And I was like, wow, that's so cool that she's able to say that to me to let me know I do want to be picked up. And I'm not just concerned about like, what's going on? Why aren't you behaving? You know, she's able to articulate to me, or she'll tell me her food is too hot, or she'll tell me very simple things. But at this age, the way that she's able to communicate without whining or, you know, causing a huge tantrum, it saves us so much emotional pain, you know?
Yeah, and I think that is how the true safety looks like, because when a child at this young age is able to feel safe and feel that whatever she's gonna say, she's gonna be heard.
Yeah.
And you can sense it. Maybe she doesn't understand it on a words level, but she has that in her nervous system as a safety base. And she knows that I don't need to get my parents' attention by whining, because I see a lot of kids whose parents don't really care. Like, okay, they're just really running, they just really do something, they might yell at them or just like, stop doing this.
Yeah.
And when these kids don't feel safe, and they try and like to lean to the parent, and parent like, oh, I'm busy or something. But these kids, they need reassurance that you're still here for me, that I can have your life and your safety at any moment I need you. And they just they try to get the attention by crying in the tantrums, and something you can never stop. And
like you said, you know, earlier when you were saying, they also pick up on it even if you're not saying anything negative per se, right? Like I had a parent call me. She said her daughter was stuttering, and she was asking me, what do I do? And I had a conversation with her. And in that conversation, I learned from that parent that the parent herself used to stutter when she was a kid. And we were able to pinpoint the emotions that were behind that. And right after that, I told her, okay, now go back and do this, right? She said before she even talked to her daughter again, the stutter stopped. It completely stopped. And it was just so cool because, like you said, it was something that was happening within the parent that she didn't recognize. She didn't realize the emotional effect. She wasn't saying anything. She wasn't saying, stop stuttering. She wasn't, you know, she wasn't like, oh, but within herself, she was feeling something, and that was causing the child to continue stuttering and stuttering and stuttering. And she called me when she was worried. And she was like, okay, what do I do now? But in just one day, she was able to stop that. And it really shows whatever is happening within the parent, you have to be able, okay, maybe you didn't get the best upbringing. That's okay. Because you can still give that to your child if you're willing to, if you're willing to self-assess, if you're willing to go through the pain, you know, of self-assessment. and you're willing to change those simple things, you can give your child so much more to be able to understand the world around them and then the world inside of themselves, you know?
Yeah, and actually, that is one of my favorite topics that you brought up right now. Did you hear about epigenetic theory?
Yes.
That is, yeah, I can talk about this for hours.
Yes,
because
yes.
kids when they okay, even not talking about the kids, we talk about the adults. A lot of adults are really struggling with non-ending anxiety, overthinking. They just they don't understand why they feel this way.
Yeah.
And what they don't know that it may be not even their own fears, because they try to reflect on their life back, and they don't see like major horrible events. And they're like, but I'm still feeling this way. But it may be the way your mother been feeling when she been carrying you.
Yeah.
Maybe your grandmother, she's been through the war, and she been carrying that constant fear inside herself. Something happens in your lineage, and it transfers into this lineage energy field, and everybody who's involved into this field, they going to carry exactly the same imprint until there will be just one person who will heal that imprint inside themselves. And this way they heal themselves, they don't spread it to the future generations, and at the same time they set free like their ancestors who's been before them, because you're saying that fear has no power over you anymore, you're free now.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is and you know, the other thing that I wanted to say, that when you say that you're 2 years old is so self-aware and so present in her body that she is able to pick up like tiny details like cold hands.
Yeah.
She's really, that really impressed me, to be honest. Because not even every adult able to assess details in their surroundings, because um, you know, when you are so disconnected, something happened traumatic with you, and your nervous system, in order to protect your mental health, it disconnects you from your body.
Yeah.
And that's what we call dissociation.
Yep.
And I guess that's what we call like daydreaming too, because you, instead of being present in this reality, and you don't want to be in this reality, so you prefer to be somewhere else, far far away from here. And then later in the school, these kids get in problems with the teachers who say that, oh, your child doesn't know how to apply themselves. They don't behave. They never listen to me in the class.
Yeah.
And they take it as a misdemeanor, while what they should what they should do is look at the situation in a house.
Yeah.
If the child, when they're coming back home, do they feel safe?
Right.
Because if, okay, after school, how many hours we spend in school? Like 5-6 hours maybe.
Yeah.
But then we're coming home, and the rest 20 hours we spend in home.
Yeah.
And your nervous system learns just certain state, and that state becomes your baseline.
Yeah.
And
they call it toxic stress.
Oh, I didn't hear about this.
Yeah. No, it's exactly what you're describing.
Okay.
Right? Because you're in fight or flight when you're at home. Because
you're always ready.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you never know when maybe an alcoholic, family member, or somebody who is very just angry and shouting all the time. Yeah.
And the information, the fact that I heard just recently, but it literally shocked me. Because they ran the experiment, so they did the scans of the children who are being raised, who are actually being currently raised in unstable households, and the people who came like really from a war zone, like actual real veterans, and they have similar scans on the brain, and like it's different, absolutely different experience, because I don't want to equal like just some minor things and like the real world. It's never comparable, but the damage that it does to your brain is pretty much the same. So what it does, it's affecting on your prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for the emotional regulation and for the memory. And when you being exposed to constant stress, and it's not just really like one traumatic event. It's
Right.
like ongoing every day for years.
Right.
And you have your body to produce so much cortisol,
Yeah.
so it's becoming like your normal.
Yeah.
And your brain, and this when this happens, your brain does not store too much memories in our active zones. And you can ask a lot of people if they do remember their childhood. They don't,
Right. Right.
because there was so much, like, they, even if they did not have a very horrible things happen to them, we didn't talk about this, but maybe like emotional neglect,
Yeah.
something like this. And that was so traumatic experience that they dissociated, and they don't remember. Why to remember something that hurt you?
You know, they've done tons of studies on that specific topic where they looked at emotional neglect, they looked at uh, physical neglect or
Mm-hmm.
abuse,
Mm-hmm.
right? They looked at so many different things that cause this stress, this toxic stress is what they call it. And they found that if you have just four of these factors in your life, you are more likely to drink, to take drugs, have mental illness, all those sorts of things. But they even select out the children or the adults who they stay away from drinking, they stay away from drugs. And they find that all of them, the ones who drink and do drugs and the ones who don't drink or take any drugs, they find that all of them are at a higher risk of heart disease.
That just literally a few days ago, I read exactly the same
Oh,
information.
yes.
Because a lot of people thinking that it's alcohol that is messing up
Right.
the heart. Well, okay, if you will be drinking a lot, it will contribute.
Right.
But the first and the primary reason is the higher cortisol.
Yes.
That is affecting your
Yes.
cardiovascular system,
which then leads them to drink.
Yes.
And leads them to,
and it doubles. And,
exactly.
yeah.
But even the ones who don't do it, they still are at higher risk, just the same as if they were drinking or smoking or whatever, right? And that should be a shock to parents. That should be something that every parent hears and goes, okay, I wouldn't want that to happen to me. So how do I make sure that doesn't happen to my child? How do I set them up so that they are not just successful, but they're also safe. They also live a long, healthy life. They're also able to be happy,
Yeah.
right? And the biggest piece that it comes down to. Have you ever heard of Alexander the Great?
Maybe.
Alexander the Great. He conquered, the world at that time, right? He led these massive armies. This was all at the age of like 25. He was doing this, right? Do you know who he was mentored by? He was mentored by Aristotle, right? And so because he was mentored by Aristotle, he was able to take that information and lead massive armies and conquer the world, etc. He had a great mentor. Most people who are successful have a great mentor.
True.
I would say it is so important. What if a parent could be like that mentor to their child?
That would be amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
In fact, that's what they need to do. They need to be like an Aristotle to their child, to guide them into this world so that they can go on and do great things. That's what I support parents to do.
And in order to do so, you have to become that great mentor to yourself first.
Yes.
To your inner child, because if you never got a great mentor in the face of your parents yourself, and you literally, you don't know what as a mentor is, like what you're supposed to do when you have this mentor in your life. And you cannot teach somebody what you don't know yourself.
Yeah.
So first you need to figure out how to lead yourself.
Right.
And a lot of people talk about these days, like about self-love and everything. And a lot of people take it as you have to start buying yourself all the amazing things,
all the bath
spending
bombs.
money. It's not wrong.
Yeah.
It's not wrong, because if you've been in a childhood where you're not being allowed to have what you want, well, you can pamper yourself and say, okay, no problem.
Sure.
But there you should learn also the balance, how to not overspend, because there are some reasonable purchases and there are some purchases that you make and trying to regulate.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, just really get this quick dopamine and
shop therapy.
Yeah, shop therapy. Yeah, I've been guilty. But right now, I just do one thing for me, that before I want to buy something, I'm asking myself, do I really want it or I need it, or that's both? And I'm not buying this like right away. If in 2-3 days or better in a week, I still want this thing, I'm gonna buy this, because I'm still thinking about this, reflecting. I'm like, okay, that's gonna be me. But it took me literally years to learn that self-regulation, like to take the pause before anything you do, before any action, not only buying things. And so yes, right now I'm doing better parenting on myself.
That's good. That's what we need. That's what we need. You know, I was reading about, J.D. Rockefeller. There's this book that is 38 letters that J.D. Rockefeller wrote to his son. And I'm reading through the book, and I found it so fascinating. One of the things was his son had he'd given him a loan of $1 million, and his son spent all the money, and the business didn't work. And he's writing to his son, and he's saying, I know you're feeling down because you borrowed all that money and the business didn't work. But I want you to know you shouldn't feel down. Come ask me for more money. I'll give you more money. And I was reading that and going, that's not how I was raised. Absolutely. Right? But imagine the security that son or that child would feel
after blowing up the whole $1 million.
Yes. Like, of course, you feel bad. Like, I borrowed money and I blew off a lot of money. And that was a lot of money back in that time. It's still a lot of money today, right?
Still,
But then he says, it's okay. Because you have to go out, you have to try. And if you close up now, then you'll never become successful later on, because you'll be afraid. You'll be afraid to go out and get back on and do it again and do it again. But this is how a lot of parents, even for small things, they'll teach their children. Oh, you made a mistake. No, I'm not going to let you do it again because you messed it up that time.
That exactly, yeah.
Right? Instead of being gracious. So you have to be also gracious with yourself, with your children, just like the J.D. Rockefeller.
Yeah.
With like, okay, you messed it up that time. Try again. And unfortunately, what a lot of people feel is they go into like this almost survival, especially when it comes to money. But even just with smaller things, like I love cooking.
Okay.
I love cooking. I love baking, right? And when I bake something, here's what always happens to me. I don't know why, but usually the first time I bake something, like biscuits or something, I get it perfect the first time. It's so good. I'm like, wow. And then the very next time, crap. And I'm like, okay, but I know how to get it right. And I know it's amazing when I get it right. So let me try again. And sometimes it takes 10 more times for me to keep doing it wrong. And every time, throw out another batch, throw that out, because it doesn't work, right? It's too hard, or, it didn't come apart the right way, whatever. So it's like, oh. But I keep doing it until I get it right again. And then I know once I get it right again, I'm like, I can do it like that every time. Now I know, don't put too much milk, or it has to be very cold, or whatever the case is, right? And I've learned throughout all those times. I've met so many just people, mothers, whatever. And they'll tell me when they're cooking, they feel so bad messing up. They feel so bad having to throw it away. Like my own wife.
Yeah.
Same thing. When she would first cook and she would make a new recipe and get it wrong, or it's like it didn't taste perfect or too good, she would be so down on herself. I messed up and I wasted all these ingredients. And that's it.
Familiar.
Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Go buy the ingredients right now. Let's make it again right now.
Yeah.
We have the time. Let's do it. You know? And that's how we have to be for ourselves, for our children, not just with small things, but with the big things too. Have that grace, because that allows a child to feel the freedom to make mistakes, which means they have the freedom to be creative.
That is true.
You know?
And you actually reminded me, because there are so many examples on the same exactly state.
Yeah.
Because I just started taking some private golf lessons.
Oh.
And I never could understand when people were saying that, golf teaching me so many things. I thought, oh my God, that seemed to me the most boring game ever you can ever imagine.
Yeah.
I couldn't even understand why people play this
until
I got to the driving range. So, and my first day, of course, it was not perfect. And you hit the ball. Sometimes you miss.
Yeah.
And honestly, all these years, I didn't even try the goal because I had a fear. I was afraid to miss the ball and to look stupid when you're like doing this perfect swing.
Yeah.
And the ball is still there.
Right. Yeah.
So, and I'm lucky to have a really amazing instructor. And every time, instead of like really hitting the ball, I make it roll, or like I will miss the ball. And he's looking at me and saying, okay, that's a part of the game. Just continue practicing.
Yeah.
And I noticed how tense was my body, just because I expect myself to perform perfectly. I have no right for mistake.
Yes.
And I approach the ball. Oh, and there's the other thing. So before you hit the ball, you can do like some practice swings.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, just really, it's perfect. And my instructor looks at me, that's a perfect one. But once I make a step towards the ball and I know that, okay, now all my body like turns up, and I'm like, I can mess up. What I'm gonna be doing, like if I will mess it up, that is not gonna be perfect. And guess what? Whenever I'm in this tense state, I mess up.
Right.
Like my swing is just horrible.
Right.
And I tell myself, girl, what's the matter? That is just the ball. Just really do it again. Have 50 more. Just keep practicing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that when children not allowed to make mistakes, they growing into the adults who have a problem with the procrastination. And procrastination is not about being lazy. It's about to fear to start because you're afraid to fail, because you cannot allow yourself to look like a
like a failure. Exactly.
Yeah, like a failure. Yeah.
That's the fixed mindset, right? That's exactly what that is. And there's another thing, is that parents don't, they have a weird, I'm going to say weird definition of the word discipline.
Oh.
You know, the definition that many people think of when you say discipline is, oh, you have to spank your kid or you have to punish them, right? That is not discipline, right? Discipline is supporting your child to be masterful at something. Did you know, like in English anyway, the arts, like when you're painting, those, another word for that is called the disciplines, right? Or when you're playing music, right? Those are the disciplines. Okay. Because in order to be good at that, you have to discipline yourself. You have to practice. You have to show up even when you're not good at it, and you have to get better and better and keep going. A lot of parents are unwilling to sit with their child to support them to be good at something that is difficult for them. And when a child is experiencing this, I was just with a child, she's 7 years old. I'm helping her to read. She comes across a word she doesn't know. She looks at me. I tell her what the word is. Then that word comes up again, and she forgets it. And the look on her face, I'm gonna mimic it. Because she balled up her fists, and she clenched her mouth, and she, I was like, whoa, what's happening? What was that? And she said, I forgot. And I said, okay, it's okay to forget. Okay, I'll tell you what it is if you forget. But why did you do that? Like, what's happening in your mind? And she said, the files went missing. She's 7 years old. I said, and what happens when the files go missing? She says, somebody pressed the mad button. And I said, so you're mad? She said, yes. I said, you're frustrated? She said, yes. I said, okay. Why are you frustrated? Because I forgot. I said, yeah, but what what about forgetting means you should be frustrated?
Mhm.
And she said, I don't know. I said, do you think something's going to happen? She said, yes. I said, what? Something bad is going to happen. I said, well, what's the bad thing that's going to happen? Mm. She thought about it for a little bit and she said, if I forget or I make a mistake, then I won't do well in life. That's what
And
she
guess
said.
who told her this?
Exactly. Somebody around her,
Mm-hmm.
some adult,
Yeah.
who she valued their opinion,
Mm-hmm.
at least for that moment,
Mm-hmm.
said that to her or around her, at least.
Yeah.
Right? I wasn't there when they said
Mm-hmm.
it,
Yeah, yeah.
but this is her self-talk now. This is what she's coming up with. So now, when she's in this position where she's trying to learn, which that expression that she takes, where she's like frustrated, that's not uncommon. I see that a lot with children.
Mm-hmm.
When they're learning something that is challenging for them, it can be frustrating. And that's totally normal. But a lot of parents are not willing to sit through that frustration, or they would say that's not acceptable. You can't be acting like that. They'll tell them something like that,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to supporting the child to understand, here's what's happening within you. Here's the emotion that you're going through, and that's okay. And we can continue through this, right? So that we can get to the end goal of you're actually good at something that you need in your life, you know? But the point being, the self-talk, whatever is being said around the child. So yes, there are nonverbal things, but also the things that are being said
Mm-hmm.
becomes the self-talk of that child. And I asked her, where did you get that from? And you know what she said?
Mm-hmm.
Myself. She didn't even think about
Mm-hmm.
the adult that was saying this around her. She said, I got it from myself.
I can probably see the situation, what's been actually happening, because if a child cannot recall like particular adults saying certain things,
Mm-hmm.
it must only mean that the adult's reaction made her feel a certain way.
Yeah.
Most probably when she forgot something or she felt like she messed up at something, she made a mistake.
Yeah.
That look on one of the parents' face or adults,
Mm-hmm.
they can give you just really that side eye or just look down at you,
Yeah.
and you read in the energy that not you disappointed, that them disappointed at you because
Yes.
they expecting you to feed whatever image they have in their head.
Right.
And if you do not feed that perfect beautiful picture,
Yeah.
you are not good enough for them. And what happens if you're like in the nature, if your parents are like rejecting you, you're gonna die because you losing the protection, you do not
Right.
feel safe.
Right.
And whatever um, facial expression or energy she or the reaction she perceived from her parents or from one parent, or it may be like anybody else, like some meaningful adult,
Yeah.
and she instantly carry that, okay, if I will not be good enough, I will lose love.
Right.
And
Right.
love is actually safety. It
Yeah.
means, and if you don't have safety, you're gonna die. And so in
Yeah.
her mind, there is a very weird chain, but actually it's to dig deep enough into like a lot of people fears.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna make a mistake, I'm gonna die. And
Right.
that is like the primer fear of all living beings, is just really to die,
Yeah.
because you don't know how you're gonna survive, and if somebody is not gonna love you, if yeah, and there are, and then these children, they set up for not really healthy relationship where
Yeah.
they have to earn love,
Yeah.
because that's what they taught, they've been taught in a childhood, that in order to be worthy of love, you have to earn this, and
Yes.
you have to perform, you have to be good enough, you have to just do everything for everybody
Yeah.
and save your God to make a mistake, because otherwise, yeah, in this case, you're going to just the worst thing I guess that a child can get is a silent treatment.
Yeah.
That is like that dead silence. You literally feel like you're dead on inside. And yeah.
Yeah. For this child, it like that kind of self loop becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
You know, of, oh, if I forget, then I won't do well in life. So then she puts so much emphasis on making a mistake that she doesn't even want to try anymore. So then she doesn't try, she doesn't learn, and then guess what? She's not able to do anything, so she's not going to do well in life.
Yeah, that's true.
You know?
Because in order to succeed in a life, you have to be able to have one skill that I think is the most important: get over your fear.
Yeah.
Whatever you're scared of doing, just because you don't know how, go and learn how. It should not be perfect.
Yeah.
And here's another thing. When we talk about the procrastination, you maybe know how to do this. You probably saw other people doing this, and probably you even think that you're capable of doing this.
Yeah.
But you will not start until you make sure it's gonna be perfect.
Right.
And I've been there, and basically like all my life, until a few years ago, I told myself, it should not be 100% perfect. Let's just really stop at 80% at the level of good enough. And first, when I've been doing this kind of, oh my God, I didn't press to all 100%. And I felt this anxiety. I thought, oh my God, I could make this, I could squeeze those additional 20%. Let's do, I was like, stop at 80%, because that is a good enough look at, and of course, like in the first stages, you using other people validation just to validate you, like from the outside, because you never had this at home, like you never learned self-validation from the inside. And when even I've been doing something 80% good, other people like, oh my God, that is amazing, because for somebody my 80% it's a 150%. That's what I had to learn. So right now, even if I know I'm not going to make it perfect, well, okay, so I go, let's learn. Maybe next time or next time we will make perfect. But if not, nothing bad is gonna happen.
One of my friends, I was just talking yesterday with him, and he said, quantity is a type of quality, right? So a lot of times we focus on quality, but quantity in itself, meaning getting in the practice and trying it, is a form of quality, because then you can recognize, oh, I did this, I started, I tried, and maybe it wasn't so good. Maybe it was terrible. But then you can self-assess. But if you're unwilling to even self-assess, which could be from your childhood, and maybe because you only see one way of looking at things, because you don't have a large vocabulary to express in different ways and be creative, then you do that one thing, it doesn't come out the way that you want, and you go, not going to do it again. Right? But that starts, again, at the childhood, helping a child to be okay with make mistakes. And so sometimes I'll sit there with a child and the parent, and we're doing something, and I'm showing the parent how to discipline their child in a way where the child is like pushing through something difficult. And then they come out on the other side and they go to their parents and they're like, Mom, the pride that they have. I did it. Did you see that? And they're like giving high fives, and they're so proud of themselves. And I have to coach the moms or the dads, and I have to coach them, like, because sometimes there'll be tears. There will be tears. And it's not because, anybody's yelling or anything, but because the child is fighting to get it. And they look at themselves, and sometimes they'll say even, I'm not dumb. And I encourage them. I'm like, I know you're not dumb. I know you're not dumb. Because they're looking at, I can't get this. I'm not doing this. And I just help them to push through that. And I have to cut in for the parents, because the parents want to do it for them. I say, stop, you're ruining this for them. He can do it. She can do it. Let them do it. If you come and swoop in every single time it gets hard, they're going to feel low self-esteem, because they're going to feel like, I'm not good enough to do this. But he knows, and I've told him, and I've assessed him. He knows he can do this. I told him he can do this. Let him struggle through it. It's not, that's another thing. A lot of parents will say, oh, your child needs to struggle. And that is a misnomer, because there are challenges in life. They're going to have challenges naturally. You don't have to create new struggles for them.
Yeah.
But you have to let them go through the struggle or the challenge of this discipline, let's say, right? So as an example, if we are focused on reading or focused on math, right? There's things that they're not going to know right away. And I let them, okay, if we do this and we do this, what does that create? And they have to think about it. And maybe they get a wrong answer. That's okay. That's natural. That's a natural challenge. It's not, I'm not going to do anything for you because you need to learn how to make it for yourself in this life.
And that is actually how a lot of people been raised.
Yes.
With no support, and
Yes.
what they learn that they are all alone in the world,
Right.
and they can only rely on themselves. That's
Right.
how we see those hyper independent people.
Yes.
And they're not able to ask for help because they know that help is never coming.
You know, the successful families, like especially like when we're talking money historically, they all operated as a family. They would all help each other. Like, you know, the Rockefeller story I was telling you, but those are so many families. Like if you look at the RFK or the Kennedys, right? That family would support each other. They would, if they wanted to borrow money or do some business venture or anything like that, they would just go and say to their family members, here's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And if the family members thought that's a good idea, then they would say, okay, let's all pitch in.
Yeah.
You know? But in the normal household, no, you're supposed to make it on your own. This is a difference in thinking that separates people from being able to actually be successful, because those other families who are working together, guess what? They have less competition because somehow, some way, your parents believed and got you to believe that you have to do everything on your own. And even in school, you're not allowed to look at somebody else's paper or work together or any of that stuff. You have to figure it out for yourself.
Basically, they set up children for being those little adults. And these kids, they don't get the chance to have a childhood.
Yes.
When you can just relax and safely explore the world.
Yeah.
Without expecting that everything is going to collapse if you will not carry everything on your tiny shoulders.
Yeah.
And yeah.
No, okay. I agree. It's teaching a child from too early to be independent. It's sort of like, you know, they have the cry it out method.
Yeah.
You know?
And I remember what I wanted to say too.
Yes, go ahead.
So, and when these kids, they didn't have opportunity to have a safe childhood, that's what we actually can notice now, that a lot of adult children, I should say, they acting like a children, and because their childhood actually starts at the age of 30.
Yeah.
And everybody telling them that, oh, you're so irresponsible, you're afraid of responsibility. I've been like all these people who judge on these people who never had a safe childhood, they don't understand one thing, that we've been responsible, like overly responsible for everything and for everybody for the prior 30 years. We never got a chance to just relax. And a lot of them like start to do this like at 34 and their 50s. They're just like, okay, let me be the child.
Yes.
And that is actually one of the traits that people with the ADHD get. Like that childish, I don't know how to say that. You can be very smart, you can have a really good job, you can have relationship, but something in your attitude, you're so playful and you're like, oh, adventures, okay, let's go for adventures. And you cannot stand anymore that boring, safe, overly predictable environments and
Mhm.
jobs and everything, because your brain so curious about everything. And finally, when there are no adults who are going to tell you what to do, and you're going and finally explore the world on your
Right.
own, you're like, okay, get to see this, try everything. And only when you get to the level of the situation, and I think that becoming an adult is actually that feeling of a saturation in your nervous system, when you finally feel, I've got enough of a childhood, I've seen everything, so I finally learn who I am, I know what I feel. And right now I can calm down a little bit, because I don't have this urge to just run somewhere, because you know what, I'm pretty cool where I am,
Yeah.
and I feel safe where I am, and I feel good about who I am.
Yeah.
And I think that is the point where you can call yourself an adult, because um, for a lot of people who had, again, like traumatic childhood, but even, okay, some of them had like really horrible and really scary stories from a childhood. But even those kids who had just emotionally neglected parents, emotionally unavailable parents,
Mhm.
they still continue in life. And I forgot
It's okay.
what I'm talking
That's
about.
okay.
That is so ADHD, because I'm just really.
You're thinking about like the next thing.
Okay, I started thinking about 10 different things.
Yeah.
Well, okay, what I've been talking about.
We were talking about the children who emotionally regulate or don't get the
Okay,
emotional
they
regulation.
had a, okay, these kids, they have CPT. Oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back on track.
Yeah.
So these kids, they don't even have like even actual PTSD, because PTSD comes from just one singular traumatic event, or maybe like a couple of times.
Yeah.
But CPTSD, that is a complex post-traumatic disorder. That means that you've been constantly having like something traumatizing. And a lot of people, they feel themselves younger than the actual age. So
Mhm.
you can be 35 but you feel like 16, you can feel like 12, or you can be 50 and feel like, I don't know, 22, like
Yeah.
forever
Yeah.
young, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that means that your brain stopped its development right at the age when this trauma happened.
Yeah.
And until you will process this trauma, until you will give yourself all that child at this age would have needed, you will not be able to come to this point of saturation and say, okay, I've got enough and I can continue further as an adult.
Yeah. Yeah. No, a lot of people are very immature.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look out in the world, you can see a lot of people, the way that they interact with others is in a very immature way, because a lot of people, they didn't get, you know, we say even just emotional neglect,
Mhm.
but I feel like most everybody experiences that, and it's become normalized, and it should not be normal. It should not be normal to have the experience that you did not get to really enjoy your childhood.
Mhm.
It should not be normal that you're forced into, let's say, a school system, which today, if you look at the school system, doesn't really teach you anything,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know, and it creates this pressure to conform to what everybody else is like,
Mhm.
right? And that should not be normal. That should not be normal. It should be the case that a child is growing up in an environment where they feel safe, they feel heard, they can express and explore, they can learn through play, and they can learn what's actually necessary for them to self reflect and to adapt and to grow out in the world and create amazing things.
Yeah.
That's what should be normalized. And it should be the case that, you know, ideally, what I would love to see, I would love to see the day, and maybe this happens in, you know, my children's lifetime or, you know, my grandchildren's lifetime, but I would love to see the day where on the news they say, and that's it. The very last person who was starving was fed,
Yeah.
and they will be fed for the rest of their lives. We have ended global starvation, and everybody can, you know, celebrate. That
Yeah.
that would be amazing.
Yeah.
And I know it's possible, but what it takes to get there, and I know this sounds, for a lot of people, this sounds like pie in the sky. but I know it's possible because we have the resources on the planet. It's not a lack of resources. We throw away billions of pounds of food here in just the US. We have enough food around the world to feed everyone.
Everybody, yeah.
But that doesn't happen. We could create the infrastructure to make sure that, I have Amazon where I can just go on my phone, do a couple of taps, and I've got food delivered to me in just a couple hours.
Yeah.
Right? Why is that not the case everywhere? How amazing would that be if that were the case everywhere? Right? We could do that, but what it takes is a lot of people who are intelligent enough to put that together, right? And have the funds to do it and can persuade others and say, hey, this is the direction that we need to go. And wouldn't that be great? And everybody can say, yeah. Because a lot of times the factors that are involved that make it not happen is it's not profitable. And on top of that,
it's everything about money.
Exactly.
What about like humanity?
Yes. On top of that, there's people who will steal food. Like when food is delivered to people in need, other people who are also in need will steal it. Because what are they thinking about?
Surviving and money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same thing.
It's all about surviving.
Yes.
Like the whole planet is in survival mode.
Exactly. And it's the conditions create the conditions on the parent, which make them parent their children in this way, and then their children grow up to continue those conditions. And so the way that we solve that is at the level of the parent.
Yeah.
Because the parent is the one who is most able. Yeah, we can change the system, and eventually we will have to. But the parent is the one who is most able to make the change. They can take that on for themselves.
Yeah.
In their situation.
And I always like to say this, that it takes just one healthy generation globally to change the life on a planet.
Yes.
Because imagine emotionally healthy people build on the world around us. It's going to be a much more happier place.
Yes. And look, like you said, just takes one generation, one healthy generation to do that. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah, it would be amazing. I would love to live on a planet like this and just see what the world would be.
Yes.
Yeah, but maybe our kids will see this one day. That's why I think that your job is very important. And who's working with the kids and their parents, because it takes only one child at a time to make this world better. Because then these kids going out there and they're making the impact. And if you're that hurt people,
right.
But healthy people, emotionally healthy and happy people, they just spread that happy vibe around them. And
exactly.
I hope that is the planet of the future, and I hope that there is probably we will see one day.
Yes.
So I think actually that is maybe a good place to pause, because everything that we've been talking today about, like there was like literally a lot. I think we covered everything.
Yes.
And in order, it's very important to take some time to reflect on everybody who's watching us. They need to use that moment and to reflect on this in order to integrate it, because there is no sense to only talk and you never apply this.
Of course.
Integration is only when you let yourself to feel this. So so before we go, I have a small gift for you.
Oh.
Yeah, that is my book. That is Environment Survival. It took me 15 years to finish it.
Wow.
Because I've been gathering so much information, like from absolutely different fields, like neuroscience, generational traumas, energy healing. So, and actually, that book tells what trauma is, how it appears and what it does to you, how survival patterns are formed in the childhood through inherited parental models, and how it lives in your body and your nervous system.
Wow.
And how to get out of this loop. So in order to break those generational survival modes. So that is for you.
Thank you very much.
And I hope that this book will give you some inspiration or insights, so that will help you on your work.
Yeah.
And yeah, we will together make the world better.
Yes.
Just one child at a time.
That's right.
Well, all right. Thank you for coming here today.
Thank
I really
you.
truly appreciate it. And that conversation meant a lot for me.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank
All right.
you.